My name is Dale Ward, I'm a comedian and an artist, and I wrote a thesis about how Michael Myers from the Halloween movies is a Zen master. I called it Zen and the Art of Halloween, an analysis of Zen master Michael Myers. This video is chapter 9 of my thesis, and these are some of my Halloween paintings that will be appearing in the background. So let's get into chapter 9, which is titled Beyond Evil, Shape Satori. Or if you're gonna pronounce it wrong, Samhain Satori. My ninth proof of Michael Myers being a Zen master is that he is beyond evil. In fact, the boogeyman is beyond all aspects of morality because, as Dr. Loomis states, Michael has no reason, no conscience, no understanding in even the most rudimentary sense of life or death, of good or evil, right or wrong. The shape is simply a mindless and soulless distributor of pain, fear, and death. Which, as I've shown in previous chapters, are lessons that can be used in Zen to find the best path towards the experience of Satori. The Japanese word Satori is a Zen term for awakening, commonly translated as enlightenment. Zen monk D.T. Suzuki said, quote, "Satori is the raison d'etre of Zen, without which Zen is not Zen. Therefore, every contrivance, disciplinary and doctrinal, is directed towards Satori." End quote. In exactly the same way, killing is the raison d'etre of Michael Myers, without which the boogeyman is not the boogeyman. Therefore, everything the shape does is directed towards killing and not morality. In other words, neither Zen nor Michael Myers preach about what is right and wrong or good and evil. Zen is totally focused on how to reach Satori. Whereas the boogeyman is totally focused on killing. Zen is not a religious search for ethics or beliefs. Consequently, Zen has no laws or commandments. As D.T. Suzuki said, quote, "Zen has no special doctrine or philosophy, no set of concepts or intellectual formulas, except that it tries to release one from the bondage of birth and death." End quote. Similarly, Michael Myers teaches kills people without involving any doctrines, philosophies, concepts, or formulas. In this sense, both Zen and the shape are the opposite of conceptualization, and you have to abandon all thoughts in order to approach comprehension. In other words, Satori is to hear the soundless sound, to have no thoughts about having no thoughts, to void the void, to walk through the gateless gate and go beyond evil and all other concepts. That's why in Zen, one of the many logical reasons why you shouldn't murder anyone doesn't involve any notion of evil or religious morality. Instead, you shouldn't murder because it distracts you from your path towards Satori. Even though Michael Myers makes it look easy, killing people is actually a lot of work. Just think about how much time, planning, energy, and effort it would take to murder someone. Then you have to get rid of the body and take steps to not get caught, and you can never be at peace because you'll always be looking over your shoulder while being worried and paranoid. On top of that, when you murder someone, the victim's family and friends tend to not like it. So you'll have enemies and you'll have to defend yourself, and you'll end up murdering even more people, and you'll have to change your name and move to a different country, but you'll eventually get caught, and you'll spend years in jail awaiting trial, and many more years in jail if you're convicted, or you'll be be sentenced to death, and as the light fades from your eyes, you'll remember, oh yeah, I wanted to become enlightened. Michael Myers, however, is beyond all of that planning, work, worry, and reasoning, because he is beyond murder. The Shape is a unique universal force that has nothing to do with morals, plans, or concepts. He is an unstoppable killing machine without a care or purpose. He is death itself. In this regard, Michael Myers is a force of nature, and therefore the boogeyman is beyond evil, because nature is not evil. Nature just is what it is. Killing is natural to Michael Myers in the same way that killing is natural to a shark. Both the Shape and the shark are simply animals that kill. There is no pride, prejudice, or pleasure in the killing, nor is there any debate, overthinking, malice, joy, gratification, or even choice. There is only the kill. The boogeyman even has the same empty black eyes that a shark has. The difference is that Michael usually doesn't kill for food the way a shark does. Which is almost more Zen-like, because Myers doesn't kill out of necessity or survival. He kills without reason in the same way that the universe kills without reason. In this manner, Michael Myers has perfected Zen and the art of killing, because killing is all he does. In other words, when the boogeyman is killing, he is just being himself. Perhaps that is the most forgivable thing about him. He has no motive and no personal vendetta of angry revenge or spiteful rage. The Shape is simply a thing that kills. This is very important because it shows that Michael Myers doesn't murder, he kills. He kills without any planning, emotion, effort, or wasted energy. He has no objective for who gets killed. He has no concern for who sees his killing. He doesn't even cover his tracks, avoid getting caught, or try to hide any evidence. Actually, he usually puts the body on display to show off his new killer Halloween art piece. In other words, the boogeyman has no other function except to exist and kill. In fact, his existence is killing, because Michael Myers is the Shape of killing. The boogeyman is an egoless, unremorseful, and unfeeling killing machine. He is a killer in the truest sense, because that is who and what he is. Michael Myers is the Shape of a killer. And for that, I don't think we can blame him. We don't blame or get angry at a shark for killing, so why should we blame or get angry at the boogeyman? Is a shark monstrous for killing a seal? No. Is a lion wrong for killing a zebra? No. Is a bear bad for killing a deer? No. And if a shark, lion, or bear kills a human, is that an act of evil? No. It's natural and has nothing to do with evil or morality. In exactly the same way, killing is completely natural and totally innate to the Shape's existence. And Zen is entirely about getting in tune with nature. So, can we really blame the boogeyman for being the boogeyman? No! On top of all that, you couldn't blame Michael Myers even if you wanted to, because Michael Myers as an ego identity doesn't exist. And you can't blame or punish something that doesn't exist. Furthermore, these days most people think that this planet has a population problem anyway. So with that mentality, it's a good thing that Michael Myers is the Shape of population control. Yes, less people will be alive after the boogeyman teaches his lessons. Kills! But more people will be closer to enlightenment. This proves that the shape is beyond evil, because he is helping the so-called population problem while waking people up at the same time. In this way, when the shape teaches kills, he is just naturally acting out his best talent, proficiency, and instinct. In fact, Michael's only skills are his kills, and I don't believe that the boogeyman even decides to kill. He just kills, because Michael Myers is the shape of killer instinct. When Michael teaches kills, he uses what is called Wu Wei, which is an ancient Chinese term for the method of effortless action. My favorite descriptions of Wu Wei are action without action and actionless action. Wu Wei is a totally harmonious, efficient, free-flowing, natural spontaneity without any wasted energy, where what is done or not done is more of a happening because the doer and the doing become one egoless, empty entity within a unified process of existence. The boogeyman employs Wu Wei when he uses whatever is near him to kill whoever is near him without any wasted time or energy, because Michael Myers is both the killer and the killing. He is an ocean of death. Moreover, Michael also employs Wu Wei when he is incarcerated and staring at a wall within the Smith's Grove Sanitarium, because the shape naturally acts when he acts and naturally does not act when he is actionless. In other words, the boogeyman is simultaneously being and doing at all times. The result is that everything Myers does is done naturally, expertly, and extremely efficiently. Thus, even his teaching, killing, is not exactly done on purpose because he just truly does. And that doing just happens to be teaching. Killing! In this sense, teaching, killing, is just as natural to the shape as teaching is natural to a Zen master. Therefore, Michael Myers is the shape of Wu Wei. One of the most natural aspects about the boogeyman is that his killing transcends ego, morality, mortality, and all reasoning. Michael's killing just simply happens, without logic or planning. It is nature itself. Therefore, both nature and the shape transcend what is good and evil because they exist in the totality of pure reality beyond all thoughts and differentiations. In this regard, nature and Michael Myers are identical in their apathy towards human ethics, because neither the universe nor the boogeyman care about what people think is right and wrong, nor do they care about your life or any of the problems that go with it. Besides, the truth is that you and your problems are temporary anyway. Michael Myers makes sure of that. The shape simply shows us that at some point we will all die and become rotting corpses, regardless of whether we think that is good or bad. In other words, Michael Myers teaches us that death is not evil. Death is a simple fact that is common to all living things. There is no consideration for morality or judgment, because the boogeyman kills everyone, regardless of goodness or badness of character, just like death itself does. Furthermore, with both death and the shape, no weapons can stop them, and no amount of righteous deeds, wealth, friends, or family can help you. You can try to fight or run, but it won't matter. You will inevitably face death alone, just like you faced the boogeyman alone, and that is a fact beyond evil. Moreover, as previously discussed, Michael Myers makes you see that there's nothing you can do to stop him from killing you. Just like there's nothing you can do to stop the universe from killing you, because the universe kills everyone, yet the universe is not evil. So the simple inevitable truth of death points out that nature, the universe, and death itself are all beyond evil. Therefore, since the boogeyman is one with all of those things, Michael Myers is the shape beyond evil. Master Michael Myers kills his students, victims, the valuable truth that life implies death, because they are two sides of the same coin of existence, and he shoves that coin deep into your skull. Which also teaches you that without pain, pleasure doesn't exist. These facts of existence, which have nothing to do with morality, prove that the underlying truth of reality is that every duality is actually a unity. Yeah! Therein lies the source of the ancient Chinese yin and yang symbol, which represents the philosophical concept that apparently opposing entities are actually complementary, interdependent, and two parts of one whole. An example of this concept is when Michael's knife shows you that there is no up without down. So just like yin and yang, Myers teaches us that we cannot have life without death, good without evil, right without wrong, pleasure without pain, light without dark, day without night, etc. As Zen monk D.T. Suzuki said, quote, "All forms of evil must be said somehow to be embodying what is true and good and beautiful and to be a contribution to the perfection of reality. To say it more concretely, bad is good, ugly is beautiful, false is true, imperfect is perfect, and also conversely." End quote. Therefore, in Zen, chaos is admired just as much as tranquility because they do not exist without each other. In this way, existence is being praised as it is, not in separate parts, but as a whole. In other words, the innocent goodness of Laurie Strode is seen in the same light as the evil darkness of Michael Myers, simply because they both exist. Evil cannot exist without goodness. In fact, one magnifies the other. The shape is the evil that emphasizes the good. He is the death and the dying that makes life precious. Yet, both Michael Myers and Zen point beyond all distinctions of morality and logic. To quote Suzuki again, quote, "Logic starts from the division of subject and object, and belief distinguishes between what is seen and what is not seen. The Western mode of thinking can never do away with this dilemma, this or that, reason or faith, man or God, etc. With Zen, all these are swept aside as something veiling our insight into the nature of life and reality. Zen leads us into a realm of emptiness or void, where no conceptualism prevails, where rootless trees grow and a most refreshing breeze sweeps over all the ground." End quote. That sounds like a beautiful Halloween night to me. The shape shows us the truth of reality beyond duality, morality, logic, and all other concepts through the integration of apparent opposites with his lessons of pain, fear, darkness, and death so that we can transcend to the experience of unity. This is known as the middle way, which is a Buddhist idea that the best path to take is not an extreme path such as pure hedonism or maximum asceticism. Instead, the most expedient path is down the middle. Therefore, one of the reasons why Buddhism teaches that life is suffering is simply to correct the unrealistic, irrational, illogical, and impossible idea that life should only be pleasurable. In this respect, Michael Myers is the shape of pain and death. which corrects your desperate, insatiable searching and craving for eternal, constant pleasure. In other words, the boogeyman can help you see the middle view that a lot of life's pain is caused by the unrealistic desire to not have any pain when pain is an inevitable part of life. At the same time, the shape also shows you that a lot of suffering is caused by the impossible desire to not die when death is inevitable. In these ways, Michael Myers is the shape of inevitability. It's an extremely rare person who follows the middle way all the way to enlightenment, where one wakes up and identifies with everyone, including all of the people being killed by the boogeyman. This means that an enlightened being is a personification of oneness within the egoless universe and shunyata, beyond all concepts. Thus, when the shape kills, it not only shows us that there's no living without dying, he is also teaching us another important yin-yang lesson of unity within duality. There's no such thing as self without comparing it to other, which points out that self and other are actually one thing. So the trick and treat of enlightenment is living the dual life of the individual and the universe at the same time. In other words, you are enlightened when you realize that you are Michael Myers, and you are also his victim. That being said, a highly enlightened being is also aware and conscious of the pain and suffering of others. Therefore, when you become enlightened, you can transcend beyond the boogeyman into Buddhahood, because you can be aware of the pain and suffering of others just like he is, but you can help them decrease their pain and suffering, rather than adding to it the way the shape does. A Buddha is a supremely enlightened person who cares about all sentient beings. But the boogeyman obviously doesn't care about anything, and he is also not a person. Michael Myers is the shape of a person. Therefore, he can only be the shape of a Buddha, but not an actual Buddha, because the boogeyman is simply a powerful and destructive force of nature, with no morals, emotions, thoughts, reasoning, etc. In other words, you can be more than Michael Myers, because you can have empathy, compassion, and kindness, and you can choose to not kill, whereas the shape cannot make that choice. This is the basis of morality in Halloween Zen. You have the ability to logically think with reasoning and empathy for others, so you don't have to kill, but the boogeyman is killing. Michael Myers is a vacant vessel of the violent void. He does not have logic, reasoning, morality, or empathy. He is pure killing. And you are not pure killing. You can be enlightened and still be human, whereas the shape cannot. So be like the enlightened aspects of the boogeyman, not the killer aspects of him. And if someone asks me, well, if Michael is so enlightened, why does he kill? I've been trying to point out that Michael Myers is death in the shape of a person. In other words, he is a force of death that has nothing to do with ethics, concepts, or choices. The boogeyman is the knife without a handle. He is the wheel without an axle, the mind without a mind. The shape is the faceless face. Therefore, we can't possibly understand him any more than we can comprehend the entire universe or death itself. For example, there's no logical reason for Michael Myers to kill, just like there's no logical reason for the universe to kill. With that in mind, the boogeyman teaches you that there's really no logical reason for you to kill anyone, because everyone is going to die anyway, which means that every murderer is just impatient. And that's why I think murder should be called impatience. The judge should say,
"You've been found guilty of first-degree impatience. Now go wait in a jail cell until you die."
Which is a rather ironic and hilariously fitting punishment for impatience. The funniest thing about murderers is that the victim was already going to die, and the murderer just couldn't wait. This shows that murderers are extremely impatient and illogical because it literally takes zero effort and everyone will die, all on their own without anyone doing anything. Life is fatal in and of itself, so there's really no logical point in murdering anyone because life kills everyone already. And so does the shape. In this regard, Michael Myers is the shape of life. Because both Michael Myers and life are patient killers, not impatient murderers. With that in mind, we can all let go of hatred, anger, jealousy, resentment, pride, revenge, grudges, etc., because everyone is going to die. In fact, we can be unattached to all thoughts and feelings because we will all be dead soon, thanks to the boogeyman. To be clear, non-attachment does not equate to a lack of thoughts and feelings, nor is it an absence of pain and suffering. It means not being totally caught up in such things. In this way, we can see death as a reminder to be free from all attachments. In other words, Michael Myers teaches lessons of liberation and non-attachment through death. Therefore, instead of murdering people, you can just let the boogeyman kill everyone, in the same way that you let the universe kill everyone. Or instead of murdering people, you can just tell them, one day you are going to die. All I have to do is be patient. Or instead of murdering people, you can just silently stare at them with the empty, emotionless eyes of Michael Myers, and they will end up dead. Eventually. I promise. My point is that there's never any need to murder anyone. Furthermore, if you focus on becoming enlightened instead of murdering, you won't even want to murder anyone because you'll realize that you are everyone. On top of that, once you wake up and realize that you are the universe, you won't need to kill anyone because technically you already kill everyone. We are all the same universe, so in this sense, another funny thing about murderers is that all murderers merely murder themselves. Thus, if you murder anyone, all you are proving is that you are self-destructive, unenlightened, impatient, illogical, egotistical, unaware of your oneness with the universe, etc. In other words, another reason why you shouldn't murder anyone and shouldn't even desire to is because the victim is you. You can wake up and you can care that every person is you, yet not you. As Zen Master Dogen said, quote, "A fool sees himself as another, but a wise man sees others as himself." End quote. So don't murder anyone, because you know that you prefer to not be murdered. Unless you are a sociopath or a psychopath, you know that every single person on this planet has a desire to live with the least amount of pain as possible, and you are no different in your passion to live that same way. Michael Myers teaches us this truth by showing us that all of his students, victims, struggle for their lives. Therefore, we can all relate to each other in this way as well, because we all struggle to survive against the shape of death, pain, suffering, and fear. Thus, you should always keep compassion for the fact that no one wants to die, yet death is unavoidable for everyone, thanks to the boogeyman. On top of that, no one has any idea when they will die, because the shape could show up at any time. Furthermore, no one has any idea how they will die, because Michael Myers is the shape of unpredictability. Instead of rules or laws, Buddhism has 5 simple precepts, which are not commandments as such, they are recommended ways of living. The first precept is that you do not take life. In this chapter, I have tried to make humorous arguments for some of the many logical reasons for this precept, most of which should be common sense preceding determined ethics, empathy, and enlightened compassion. In this regard, morality is a result of Zen, but ethics have little to do with the fundamental point of Zen. And obviously, morality and ethics have little to do with Michael Myers as well. Both Zen and the boogeyman teach you that there's a basic problem at the root of your common sense. You think that you are separate from the universe. And while having thoughts of separateness and individuality is advantageous for survival, the shape shows you that survival is impossible in the long run, even if you run. This is why attachment to survival leads to confusion, frustration, and suffering, dukkha. Moreover, in the everyday consciousness of separateness, your mind will continuously and ceaselessly differentiate, detect, identify, and evaluate situations and objects for threats against your survival. That is what the brain has evolved to do, and it's very useful, but when it's overwhelming and insufferable because you are attached to or identified with that constant threat detection and response, both Zen and Michael Myers can help you turn off and or become unattached to your incessant mind. Another consequence of ego-focused individualistic thinking as opposed to unified and enlightened consciousness is that the so-called other things that threaten you are then thought of as bad or evil or the boogeyman. In this respect, evil itself is based on the thought of separateness, and thoughts are not reality, neither is separateness. Therefore, evil is a concept in the mind, and it does not exist in the physical world. This means that evil is in your mind. Michael Myers is inside your mind. So when the boogeyman comes after you, you can try to run from him, fight him, or kill him, but it will be futile. You cannot run from evil, and you cannot kill evil. You can't kill evil for the same reason that you can't kill your ego. You cannot kill something that doesn't exist. The shape of evil is inside your mind, and everywhere you go, it will be there, breathing down your neck. In other words, the illusion will always be with you because you cannot kill a delusion. You can only become unattached to it. Furthermore, since your ego is the root of attachment, your ego is also the root of all evil. In fact, your ego is evil. Yet your ego does not exist. So another way to put it is that nothing is evil, and you are nothing. Shunyata. The 6th founding master of Zen in China, Dazhan Huineng, said, quote, "We should not be attached to ideas of good and evil," end quote. And Michael Myers is obviously not attached to ideas of good or evil. Therefore, you should be like the shape and not be attached to any ideas whatsoever, including all thoughts about evil, the boogeyman, yourself, or the universe. Wake up and realize that the world is not what you think it is, because the world is not a thought. And you are not what you think you are, because you are not a thought. You are here and now. It's your ego that's a thought. Separateness is an illusion, and death is simply the end of the illusion of separateness. You are not just an experiencer that experiences the universe. You are also the experience. There is no perception without a perceiver, and there is no perceiver apart from the perception. Thus, there is no you that is separate from the pain, fear, and death that Michael Myers inflicts upon you. There is only the experience itself, beyond all reason, conscience, and understanding in even the most rudimentary sense of life or death, of good or evil, right or wrong. Reality is what it is, without regard for concepts, ideas, words, and morals. Thus, there is no evil that exists outside your mind. There is only existence itself, the eternal natural universe here and now. So be aware and mindful of existence as it is. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha said, quote, "Mindfulness is the path of the deathless. Heedlessness is the path to death. Those who are mindful do not die, but the heedless are as if dead already." End quote. Therefore, perhaps another reason why the shape never seems to die is because he is truly mindful. But his victims are unaware and heedless. And then sometimes headless, thanks to the boogeyman. In other words, Michael Myers is one of the deathless because he is totally immersed in the present moment with the mind of no mind. Mushin! Moreover, as quoted in Chapter 4, quote, "Mushin means going beyond the dualism of all forms of life and death, good and evil, being and non-being," end quote. Thus, Mushin is also beyond evil in the same way that the boogeyman is. And Buddhism itself is beyond evil as well, because, as Zen monk Shunryu Suzuki said, quote, "Buddhism is not good or bad," end quote. This, however, does not mean that you can become a Buddha by simply being mindful while you stab someone. Compassion and mercy are very important keys to the awakening of your inner Buddha. Therefore, because the boogeyman will never have compassion or mercy, he will never be a Buddha. But you can be a Buddha. That is one of the many reasons why you should have compassion for everyone, including Michael Myers. In fact, the Buddhist monk Shantideva taught that there's no one better to have compassion for than your enemy. In this way, one's enemies are the best spiritual teachers, which is more proof that the boogeyman is the best spiritual teacher. If you can have compassion for a mindless killing machine, you can have compassion for anyone. What a great teacher Michael is! The shape also teaches us that bad things can happen to good people. Life is not always fair and it never will be, but you will die in the end. In this, Michael Myers is teaching the very important Buddhist lesson to not expect fairness from this unfair life, or you will suffer even more. But this does not mean that life is evil. Unfairness and suffering are simple facts of existence which have nothing to do with morality. And yet, this is another reason why compassion is so important. The best way to deal with the unfair suffering of life is to help each other. Therefore, you should not be moral just because you want to go to heaven and avoid hell. You should be moral and compassionate in order to help others, and intention matters. Actually, intention is extremely important because helping others is heaven and avoiding hell. So do your best to save as many people from the boogeyman as you can, because the shape shows us that everyone suffers. In fact, he shows us that life is suffering. Again, this proves that Michael Myers is the shape of life. So be helpful, compassionate, and mindful while you go out of your mind and get into the present moment. Once you truly realize that you are not separate from anything or anyone else, you will transcend individuality to become one with the interconnectedness of reality, where both ego and evil are illusory, and you'll see that all ideas and concepts are delusions, including the thought of separateness. As Zen Master Dainin Katagiri said, quote, "Whatever you think is delusion," end quote. Therefore, don't fear, fight, or try to kill the boogeyman, because there is no boogeyman, and there is no you. As the Zen poem from the Shinkage Ryu school of Japanese martial arts says, quote, "Some think that striking is to strike, but striking is not to strike, nor is killing to kill. He who strikes and he who is struck, they are both no more than a dream that has no reality." End quote. In this regard, when the shape stabs, he is not stabbing, and when Michael Myers kills you, he does not kill you. Because you and the boogeyman are both no more than a nightmare that has no reality. You is just a concept that you are attached to. In other words, you are simply a cycle of psyche. But in reality, there is only the ineffable this. There is no life without death, no good without evil, no right without wrong. There are no solutions without problems. Answers do not exist without questions, and there is no success without failure. There is no sound without silence, no equanimity without fear, no enlightenment without delusion, no reality without illusion, no subject without object, no something without nothing, no this without that, no self without other. There is no such thing as a teacher without a student. Thus, there is no Michael Myers without his victim, and there is no boogeyman without you. Everything goes together. In other words, everything is one thing that can't be divided because nothing exists without everything else. So none of those dualities actually exist in reality because all ideas of separation and differentiation are simply concepts in the mind. While those notions are very important for the everyday mind, they can get in the way of just seeing reality itself with your Buddha mind. Thus, the truth is that there is neither life nor death, good nor evil, right nor wrong, solutions nor problems, answers nor questions, success nor failure, sound nor silence, equanimity nor fear, enlightenment nor delusion, reality nor illusion, subject nor object, something nor nothing, this nor that, self nor other, teacher nor student. There is neither Michael Myers nor his victim, and there is neither the boogeyman nor you. The universe is just the universe, yet it is not the universe. It is tatata and shunyata, yet neither. To reach Satori, enlightenment, and oneness with totality, you must see that none of those things exist. There is only here and now, beyond all human conception. Thus, there is neither here nor now, because those are concepts. This is the Gateless Gate, and you must walk through it on your own because enlightenment cannot be explained. It can only be experienced. Neither wisdom nor experience are made of words. Zen monk D.T. Suzuki said, quote, "Each one of us has his own name, but those names are the many names of one Buddha. Each one of us has many activities, but these activities are Buddha's activities." End quote. And the boogeyman's name is Michael Myers, and his main activity just happens to be killing on Halloween. Throughout this thesis, I have shown that the shape does many Buddha-like and Zen-like activities that can help you to approach enlightenment, except killing. So do most of what Michael Myers does. Sit in silence, go for calm walks, and take your time. Stand and stare at your surroundings while observing people and what they are doing. Make art. Breathe a lot. Never give up. And don't get attached, worked up, stressed, or worried, etc. But skip the killing part, please and thank you. The Buddha said, quote, everything has Buddha nature, end quote. And Zen Master Dogen said, quote, everything is Buddha nature, end quote. And Michael Myers said nothing. So let go, become unattached, and realize that you don't need to do anything, especially killing. Leave that to the shape. You are already enlightened, yet enlightenment does not exist. In this way, you must see that enlightenment will not add anything to your life. It actually subtracts. Illusions and delusions. And this makes sense because how could you ever gain anything by realizing that you are everything? What could the universe possibly gain? Nothing. So be nothing, be the void, be Michael Myers, be a Buddha. Go beyond all duality and all non-duality into reality. Just be. Enjoy the tricks and treats of existence. That is the way of Zen and the art of Halloween. Oh.
I'm done! I'm done!
Okay, Ghosts and Goblins, that was my first draft of Chapter 9 of Zen and the Art of Halloween. Stick around to the end of this video to see my bloopers because they are honestly the best part. But first, hit that subscribe button and look for me the way Sheriff Brackett looked for Michael Myers. And if you enjoyed this video, please kill the like button's daughter the way the Shape did. If you enjoyed this video, please kill the like button's daughter. If you enjoyed this video, please kill the like button's daughter the way the Shape did with Sheriff Brackett. Be sure to check out the other chapters to put this one in context, and please comment below to let me know what you liked, or tell me everything you hated and what you want the boogeyman to do to me as punishment. Also, please comment any corrections you have if you think I made a mistake, or if you have any suggestions or additions, I'd love to hear them. Also, let me know if you'd like to see me perform a 1-hour version of this thesis live, or if you think I should publish it as a book, or if you want me to burn it with fire and never speak of it again, leave a comment. I truly appreciate every single like, share, comment, and subscription, and I will respond to all of the comments. One last thing, if you could please share this with anyone you know who's a fan of Halloween, Zen, art, or comedy, and especially if you know anyone who's a fan of all four, please share this with them. Thank you for watching, happy Halloween, and now enjoy my bloopers. My 9th proof of Michael Myers. Zen is about all. Furthermore, in this chapter, you are not what you think you are because you are not the thought. Consequently, Zen has no in exactly the same way. Zen is not a religious search for the soundless sound to have the actually he usually in exactly the same way the Shape is beyond evil because he is helping the so-called population problem while waking people up at the same time. He's a vacant vessel of the violet void. In other words, the wheel without an axle, the you shouldn't murder because it distracts you. As D.T. Suzuki said, quote, D.T. Suzuki said, quote, D.T. Suzuki said, quote, D.T. Suzuki said, quote, another funny thing about murderers is that all murderers merely murder themselves. The illusion will always be with you because the illusion will always be with you. For example, you are not just an experiencer that experiences the universe. You are also the experience. There's no perception without a perceiver, and there's no perceiver apart from the perception. You are not separate from to become one with the interconnectedness of reality. You will transcend. You is just a the sixth founding master of Zen in China. In China, Huineng said, quote, we should not be Huineng said, quote, hey! If you enjoyed this video, please kill the like button's daughter. So dark. Kill the like button's daughter. And if you enjoyed this video, please kill the like button's daughter!